Welcome to Clueless with Ogre and Big Paulie. Welcome to another episode of Clueless with Ogre and Big Paulie. How you going, Big Paulie?
Hello, Ogre. I am well, thank you. I am very well. Another tough week in paradise. Even had some rain this week for us, but I think blue skies ahead.
So for our audience, paradise is the Sunshine Coast, and you're still rocking the shorts and polo, the pop and lock, I'm sure.
I'm not sure we call it I don't call it the pop and lock, but yeah, a t-shirt and shorts, mate. Still wandering down the Esplanade, bit of a strut going on. You know, there's sun on the back, all that stuff. Living the dream. Living the dream. Life is good, my friend.
Life is good. So, Big Paulie, last time we spoke, I was in transition of moving house.
How did it go? You've moved?
And have successfully moved. I haven't handed the keys back to the old place yet. That is to happen, but that is all done and dusted. And the challenge is finding a new spot for a lot of different things, and the garage is full of stuff that needs to be sorted out. But I've noticed, Big Paulie...
So is the house bigger or smaller or the same, or how are you going to fit it all?
The house is bigger, but the garage is not as bigger. I had a massive garage, so a couple of garages actually, but the house is bigger, it's a bit nicer, and just trying to find those spots. You don't realise how much junk you keep in those garages. But Paulie, one thing I noticed as we're moving, it's a lot, 5 boys floating through the house, in and out. And
did any of them decide to help you with the physical stuff, Ogre? Was it all left up to you?
No. I had 3 of them actually, just helping out. One took a day off school.
You would have had to
coincidentally
twist his arm for that, I'm sure. Hey, he would have straight up. I'll help, Dad.
Oh yeah, he manipulated. He was telling me he was best on ground when we moved in, so he wanted another crack. But Paulie, missing socks. How many single pairs of socks? One sock missing of about 20 pairs. How does that happen?
I don't know, but I'm a firm believer they should sell socks in threes. They should sell socks in threes, because that is the bane of every person's existence. Lost socks. Where is that missing sock?
Where is it?
You've had a few, have you? What do you mean? Have you lost a sock?
There was 20 of them. Now, I think what has happened, they're throwing the sock into the washing basket and they miss. Do they go and pick it up? No. It could be under a bed, could be under here, but I haven't found any of them in that move. And it really pisses me off, Paulie. But it's a mystery more than really pisses me off. How does it happen? I have heard a hack, though. I've heard a hack. So when you put them in the wash, you actually put them together so they go into the wash together. Now, I mentioned that to one of my kids. He goes, well, they won't wash very well. I'll undo them. At least I can get the flow through. But then I think they just start wearing opposite socks. It doesn't matter.
Well, Ogre, I think you're overthinking it a fraction, but maybe the bit you haven't thought of is with 5 boys in the house, it may be not a missing sock. It may be somebody's destroyed the evidence, if you know what I mean. I'm not suggesting anything of the sort. I'm just looking at options and trying to work out why there's missing socks. But
that could be the perfect
example. And maybe, our next guest, tonight's guest, might be able to help you with perhaps a little bit of a investigation into the missing sock scandal.
Well, it's a great segue, Big Paulie, because we do have a great guest on tonight. We have a young policeman in the name of Paddy Cotter, Mr. Cotter.
Senior Constable, Senior Sergeant Paddy Cotter, please, by the correct title, one or the other.
Oh, Senior Sergeant, we better get the right title, right? But welcome to Clueless, Paddy Cotter. And is it Constable?
Hey guys, hey Ogre, hey Big Paulie, yeah, that's me, Constable Cotter. Definitely not Senior Sergeant yet or Senior Connie, but it's a pleasure to be here. It's good to be here.
Many people have many names for police officers, but we'll just run with Constable Cotter, which reminds me very loosely of the old TV show Welcome Back, Cotter. You remember that, Ogre?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Cotter. Yeah, use that. I remember that. That's what I said. Mr. Cotter. Mr. Cotter.
Bit
John
of Arnold
Travolta,
Horseshack
original.
going. Yeah, he wouldn't
Paddy,
remember
you're
that.
a young
He
bloke.
wouldn't remember that.
You're a young bloke.
I've got that one a little bit around like the cricket club. I did have to ask Mum what it meant, but I am aware of Mr. Cotter with a K. So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, welcome back.
Now, just for our audience, Paddy, you're a 22-year-old constable. Now, for me, I feel like that is young to be a copper. In your academy, in your day-to-day within the police shop, the cop shop, is that young?
Yeah, at the moment, I would say, yeah, probably pretty young. And sort of, I graduated from the academy, what would have been? It was, I think, May last year. And I was the youngest sort of out of, maybe the youngest or second youngest out of the 48 that I graduated with. So definitely on the younger side, which is a good and a bad thing, I sort of guess. I spoke to one of my mates, old men, sort of said that he reckons the sweet spot's probably anywhere between 19 and 22. And hindsight's a powerful thing. I do think it is pretty young. It's probably forced me to grow up a little bit quicker than I might have anticipated, or there's parts of it which are probably a little bit more stressful than I probably thought for a young fella. But nonetheless, it's definitely given me some skills and some things that I didn't know I had, an ability to sort of find that through the job, I think. Yeah.
Well, I want to go through that if we can, about why and how you want to join the police, and then how you go about it, of course. But we touched on Mr. Cotter, the TV show, and you mentioned Ogre Cop Shop. Now, Patrick, you probably don't remember either a great Aussie drama called Cop Shop that used to be on it during the week. You'd remember that one too, Ogre, wouldn't you?
I do remember that one. It's a great show.
Now, there was Paula Duncan in that. We're missing a fraction. Paula Duncan and John Orskick, I think. Now, I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, but how I remember those two names totally randomly, I do not know. But Cop Shop and welcome back, Cotter. I'm sure we'll bring up a couple of others as we go. But when you're sitting at school, did you go to school locally, Constable Cotter?
Yeah, I did. Paddy's fine, or Patrick, or Pat, or any of the above.
Unless you're charging me.
Yeah, although, I don't know, we'll see. That would require a little bit of detective work, and it's probably a little bit above my pay grade. But yeah, I went to school locally. I went to school at Whitefriars, which, really enjoyed sort of my time there. Didn't particularly love books and schoolwork, was pretty good at it nonetheless, without trying to sound like too much of a flog. I did all right, but didn't particularly love sort of just the rigid sort of coursework and assessment of it. I didn't think that there was a whole lot of real world application for some of the things that I was doing, and I was like, well, God, I sort of lost a bit of motivation from things that weren't particularly practical, or things where I go, well, when am I ever going to use a differential of a curve in my life? Never again. So I started to think about, well, what sort of interests me and what sort of stimulates my mind, and I think that was sort of trying to work out, obviously there's great merit in being book smart, but I thought that what sort of appealed to me was trying to be a little bit more street smart, or trying to acquire a job or some skills where I thought, this is actually using my mind for something that's sort of for the greater good. And look, it's probably a pretty common theme. Like most people probably join the job wanting to help people and wanting to support the community and support people sort of during their time of need. And I think that was sort of my driver at the start. I think I was also drawn to it because it was quite an appealing sort of part of it, was that not every day is the same. And whilst probably through working and living, you sort of see that most days are quite similar. Obviously, there is sort of a different flavour, a different spin on it each day, and that was sort of what appealed to me. Having some variety in the days. So
it wasn't perhaps the appealing part of joining the police force. It wasn't the 83 weeks off a year and the 28% superannuation package. It wasn't anything to do with that?
It's an added bonus. 83 weeks off in the year is, I can't complain about it. It does help, having sort of the leave, and it does sort of work for life at times. And, I know we were probably supposed to jump on this potty a week ago. And that was sort of coming into some days off after night shift. So it can really work for life, especially too, sort of touching on the point of being younger and some of my mates being at uni, when they're schedule is a bit more flexible. It helps that sometimes I can sort of meet them for coffee or go for a gym session at sort of 10:30 during the day, and you sort of look around and you go, God, what do these other people do? But it does sort of work for life in that sense.
So, Paddy, you're at school and you're talking about not really wanting to study post-school. You have graduated from the academy at 20. So when did it actually become a idea and then going through the process to apply? Was it straight after school or even while you're at school?
Not particularly. So it's probably actually a little bit of a funny story. I've done a little bit of a roundabout way to sort of get to where I am. Initially, put in an application to go into the Defence Force, which in the end, for a pretty minor medical thing, got knocked back at the time, which was great because that would have probably, I reckon I would have hated it. Because there's some sort of, like every job, there's aspects that you love and you hate, and some things about my job I love and some things about my job I hate. And probably some of the things I hate about my job is sometimes it being a very, very rank-based organisation and seniority being a pretty big thing in decision-making, and that's completely fine. And it's a good thing when you're seeking direction. At times, sometimes, for me personally, I ask why a lot, which is a good and a bad thing. But to touch on that point, yeah, great thing I didn't go into the army because I would have got chewed up and spat out. And then, yeah, sort of worked with one of the guys from Blackie Footy Club, actually. He came across the Whitefriars where I was playing footy at the time, moved bricks with him for about 4 months and then thought, shit, this is hard work. And then, yeah, put in an application, worked at a school for a few months and then, yeah, jumped in. It was probably, the application would have been maybe at the start of 2023, I'm guessing, thereabouts. And I reckon I probably started the academy what would it have been? Yeah, it would be November 20. Oh, God, I might be a year out. Might have been in 22. I don't know. But somewhere along those lines, yeah, put the application in, yeah. It was probably about a 9-month process.
I think we can talk more about the process, but I twigged a little when you talked about a little medical setback perhaps, or a blemish, if you like. I couldn't go past not asking. Are you okay to share what now makes you a law-abiding police officer as opposed to, defending the country? What was the little difference that could have changed your life?
I think it was just that at the time, like, I had a kidney which was just bleeding every now and then, and it was sort of
nothing serious.
Yeah, but they sort of it wasn't a thing like from the army where they're like, oh, like this is a no forever. It was just, we need you to look at this before we can take you on.
Maybe we just need you to have a kidney transplant before we can process your application here. So come back maybe another time, eh?
Yeah, potentially. But that was a bit of a fork in the road, which is a bit of a blessing in the end. Because I think that it has helped me sort of stay in Melbourne, help sort of stay with family and friends, and it has been a bit of a blessing in disguise.
And so at the academy, Paddy, it's a 6-month program.
It was 31 weeks, so I don't know what that is.
Longer. Yep.
A little bit like, probably 7, is it?
They had 18 of those weeks off, though, Oga. 7
to 8 months. You'd think it'd be a bit longer, but evidently, they send you out after that long to sort of start fending for yourself.
And so what's the toughest part of the academy and the training that you found? Were you living on campus, or you were able to transit to and from?
Lucky enough, I was able to, because I'm only 10 minutes up the road too, so lucky enough I was just able to commute it out. So a couple of the mates that I made there were living in, and I think they went a little bit stir crazy. There's only so many times you can sort of go to the gym in one day and whatnot. But I think the hardest part about the academy, and like, to put a bit of a joke on it, like, was probably staying awake at times. Like, I was sort of sitting in the back of the class. Like, I'm not sure what it was. Nothing was overly difficult, but you sort of, it's like probably it was probably the first time. It's sort of like studying, but it's also sort of like working full time. So I was pretty tired. And a lot of it is sort of, there's a lot of legislation that you sort of have to get to make your bread and butter, sort of stuff that you use every day. So your arrest powers, your searching powers, things like that, what you sort of need to know in and out. So you're operating, and everything you do, there's a legal basis to it, because you sort of get yourself unstuck where you fluff around and you try and try and make ends meet where they don't, and then you sort of open yourself up to a little bit of scrutiny later. So trying to get over legislation and interpret legislation is also a little bit of a thing. Obviously, no one in the job is an expert at anything. No one's probably even good at everything. Everyone's got their little niche and what they're strong at. But I sort of looked at it and I thought, oh well, laws are pretty black and white. Like it sort of doesn't leave much room for interpretation. But when you start sort of thinking critically, you go, oh shit, like there's sort of a lot of not grey, but there's a lot of between the way I read something and someone else reads something, we have two different opinions on it. So that was probably what I found the hardest, just trying to get over that and the wording of it at times, things like that. But yeah.
And that's what I find interesting, and maybe I watch a little too much cops on TV and all that sort of stuff, but the interesting thing, and I think it's getting more and more critical, if that's the right word, that, the law is, as you say, black and white, but yet there seems to be an increasing amount of people who want to challenge the law on a technicality. And if I haven't sworn at my TikTok 1,000 times by people who claiming sovereignty or whatever it is, and the law is X or Y and all this stuff, I admire you for holding fire for want of a far better word, but putting up with lunatics like that. But it sounds like to me, just going back a step, that your police academy days is not quite like the police academy movies that probably was entertained us all for a while, particularly us older guys, Oga.
There's no Hightower. Was there Hightower in there?
I don't know about that, but it seems pretty strenuous. And again, obviously our show is called Clueless, so we're interested in learning a lot about the police force. So have you had any challenges on the road at the moment in your
you've jumped
infancy?
ahead, Paulie.
Well, I am, because
bring it back. I just want to ask at the training around the weapons training, like where you were, if you're in the range having shooting guns for the first time halfway through your training, had you been a gun person beforehand, or are you all of a sudden handling a weapon that you've never considered possible?
Yeah, no, I've never had any sort of training before then with any sort of weaponry or especially firearms. Like, it's a pretty foreign concept the first time. First of all, they get you with one that's sort of just the same weight and same size, and then obviously has no ability to shoot a live round. You do a lot of sort of drills and how to handle the weapon when it's got no ability to fire, which is obviously a good way to start. And then you sort of use like a rubber thing which acts as a bullet, so it's got no sort of no ability to explode and no ability to fire, but it sort of cycles through the firearm as if it was a round, and then sort of you do maybe 8. I'm trying to remember. You do a handful of sessions, and then you do a week of shooting.
So again, maybe I've been watching a few too many movies, but I can see you there with the earmuffs on, the target, 25 metres ahead, and the 5 and the 7 and the 10 and the bloke's head or whatever. So when you get the first one in your hand and they say, righto, Patrick, shoot this thing, what happens? Do you hit the back? Do you hit the 10? Do you hit the target, or you hit 3 rows off it? What does it feel like to shoot that first little boom boom?
Sort of what I remember is so like we didn't have any numbers, but there was like a sort of a grey outline of a person's sort of mass, or the centre mass as they call it, and I sort of like shot it and then looked up. I was like, oh, where's the hole in the cardboard? Wasn't even one, so I missed the whole thing. A bit of a sort of general theme is that people will tend to shoot low and left. If you're a right-hander, I don't know why, but yeah, mine had gone so low and so left that it wasn't even on the cardboard. I thought, oh shit, this is going to be harder than I thought. But you get a bit of a it's a lot sort of a finer motor skill, I guess, than you probably expect, or I expected. It is very much you sort of let the tool do its thing rather than you use it. You're sort of just allowing it to do its thing rather than you don't particularly have the skill, I guess, if that makes any sense at all. You sort of just give it all it needs, and then you sort of just lightly pull the trigger.
So how many rounds did it take, or how many shots did it take to actually hit the target and then actually hit the spot that you're aiming for?
Oh, probably would have taken a good, I don't know, probably took me 3 or 4 to get on the cardboard, I reckon. Like it was hard days early. Like you sort of, you don't even know where you're going wrong, I guess. It's probably like the first time you kick a footy, you go, well, God, I don't know how I did this. I don't know how I went wrong. And then you just try to sort of bring it back and you go, oh God, this is beyond repair. So it took a little while, and you sort of do like, you do a number of hours over a week of getting your sort of skill right. And then I guess it's probably also a little bit like tying your shoelaces. Once you've sort of got it, you know that you can do it. So, yeah.
So you come out of so graduation, obviously there's this big celebration about that. Family, how did they react to that? And you becoming, saying you want to go in to become a policeman and then coming out and now it's real, you're going to be a policeman. How did they react? Were they happy with your choice or were they a bit nervous for you?
I'm actually not sure. I think that probably every mother would probably be a little bit worried. It's just mum and I at home, so we're probably a little bit closer than most. I'm probably sure there's times where she probably worries about me a little bit, but she was pretty proud. Like she was pretty proud, and I think happy to see me pick a career and pick something that at the time too, and that's not saying that I'm displeased with it now, but I was really keen to do and really keen to take on and look to be a long-term thing. I think every sort of parent wants their child to be settled and get to the point where they know that they've got something going for them, and that's an ongoing thing. So I think she was really proud of that, and she did know that I'd worked hard and put a lot of time and effort into not only for everyone that gets into the academy, but then to get out and then to start sort of working on the road. I do think she's proud. At times I probably come home a little bit cranky, and she probably is not quite so proud, but yeah, she was proud, and I was lucky enough. I was joined by a couple of uncles, couple of cousins, and an auntie or so, and yeah, it was really nice. But yeah, my uncle, he said to me in our graduation, we had to sit on a chair for like an hour 20, sort of get up and do a bit of a march and things like that. And he goes, I wouldn't have survived 5 minutes. I couldn't do what I'm told. So I said, yeah, there's probably part of me that struggles with that too, but yeah.
Well, that's great. So you graduate. Big Paulie, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just thinking, we touched on it before, but you decide to want to be a police officer, and you go through the application process, but what is that process? Is it a physical test before you get accepted into the academy, or is it academic, or is there other factors involved as well? So how do you get actually in the academy once you decide to do so?
I think from memory, like the first part of the application is online. There's probably 3 or 4 short answer sort of questions, probably about your motivations.
Does catch the bad guys count as motivation, or that's probably a bit too bland?
I'm sure if you put in a bit of creative writing and you probably word it up a little bit, yep, I'm sure it does. But there's also, and I can't remember the exact order, there's an aptitude test, there's a fitness test, you do a job like a job interview, or like sort of a holistic sort of evaluation, and also a psychological evaluation, if I can spit it out, which was good. They were probably the 2 last ones were probably the most intense, and I think the psychological evaluation probably went for about 70 to 90 minutes. So it was quite extensive, but as it should be, which is a good thing. But I'm trying to remember if there were any other steps, but it was quite lengthy. You sort of you have to send back a lot of sort of correspondence back and forth about like medical stuff, and there's a lot of things where it's sort of go out and get this for us, and you end up running around booking appointments with specialists that you haven't seen for 3 years to get something all cleared and things like that. But yeah, it was slow. I think they are streamlining it. I think it's down to probably about 3 or 4 months, because they are crying out for members at the moment. Like every workforce, they're trying to get people in the door, and it's a different game, I guess, with a different generation. But yeah, it was fairly straightforward, just a little bit lengthy. Yeah.
So you've graduated and you're heading out to day one. Preston, you said is your where you're based. Was that Was Metro Melbourne an option? Did you maybe look at regional? How does that process work?
The first thing you do post academy is you slog it out on the booze buses for a little bit, which isn't particularly riveting. It's in hindsight, it's not the worst work because you're probably a little bit less stressed. You don't have too much overtime and all these sort of things.
The booze bus is pretty riveting if you're driving on the other side. I give you the tip. There's nothing like the fear of God that's into you. And this is not me, of course. This is perhaps somebody I know that, you know, you may have had a couple. You're not quite sure if you're on the edge or not. And you turn around the corner and boom, here's those blue lights. And you go, oh, my God, Father, hello. And you start to a few Hail Marys and start to, you know, count on both ends how many drinks you may have had. And then they wave you through. The pure ecstasy, the pure joy of that moment, apparently. So it may not be a big thing for you police officers, but I tell you what, it's an interesting interaction, if you've ever had it, of course, with the booze bus and whether you're going to get through or not. So
at the same time, you haven't had a drink for 2 days. You're still flushing. Go, oh my God! Your heart starts racing. I don't know what it is.
That's true. It's the blue lights. They make you a little nervy.
But that's the initial stages, just on the booze buses. Then they just float around Melbourne.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is like interesting to see some different parts of the world. Like I remember one time we were up in Bendigo and things like that on a Friday night, and I was like, well, not often you do this before playing footy, but yeah, it's a good place to start. It's your first sort of time, I guess. Wearing uniform and interacting with the public because, and they sort of say this and it's a little bit of a cliche at the academy, but as a member of the public, you see a police officer as a police officer. You don't really see the rank that's on their shoulders. You don't look too closely because you sort of don't want to stare as well. Like
you're petrified. I'll give you the tip.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember even sometimes when I'm at Macca's and you see a cop and you're like, oh God, sometimes I'll be looking at their shoulders and you sort of see them looking back at you and you don't make correct direct eye contact and things like this. But yeah, it's interesting because people sort of do see you in a different way as soon as you are a uniformed police officer or a police officer in general, which is also both a good and a bad thing. But I think that one of the big things is that if you're doing the right thing, like I try and sort of hold myself in a demeanour where people wouldn't sort of have that reaction, because I think that it is a very, very natural reaction to sort of clam up in the presence of police, and I don't think it should be that way. I think that most people are out there for the right reasons, and obviously some are a little bit more grumpy than others, but yeah, it's interesting, and it was good learning. It's good learning being on the booze buses. So,
and that's very good advice, Patrick, because that's exactly what I told my friend. If you're doing the right thing, there is no need to worry. Now, you've been on the booze bus for a little bit, so surely you've come across a couple of explanations, perhaps about why they are there and why they may have had 1 drink, 2 drinks, or 28 drinks. Have you come across any notable explanations while on the booze bus?
Nothing. Well, more so, I think had a drug driver, and they seemed to think that they might have gone positive for meth because their coke was spiked. And I thought, oh well, right, I'm not sure if I'll write this reason down, but if that's your reason, sure thing. Yeah.
What's worse, the meth, the coke, or the 0.05? Not sure.
Well, I don't know where to start.
A world of trouble, I would suggest.
So you do the booze buses for a little bit, and then you're placed at a station, being Preston.
Yeah, so, well, I was actually fortunate enough. I spent the first couple of months in Rowville on the east side, and it was a good sort of place to start for me because it was a slightly slower pace. There's probably a few less offences and a few less crooks getting around in that area, or there was when I was there. So it gave me a little bit of time to sort of work out what I was doing, and people sort of take you on your wing at the start because you do start as an apprentice. You end up getting the little bit more rugged jobs, and you have no idea what you're doing, which is completely fine. But it's also hard to sort of get comfortable, I guess, being completely incompetent, which is something that I probably struggle with a little bit at times, and even now you just sort of want to get to the point where you know that you're all good, but it's a little bit challenging at times. So yeah, I did my first sort of 3 months in on the east side, and that was a good experience. Then after 3 months, got put out to Preston for the next sort of somewhere between 14 to 18 months. So I'm probably just over halfway through that through that now, which has been a little bit of a wake-up call, but it's been good.
And just going back to being an apprentice, so an apprentice in the tradie world has a few gags played on in their first year in particular, even their first few months. Was there any of that out of the Rowville station?
I don't think so. They were pretty nice to me out at Rowville. A one that you'll often hear is if you hear a file that sounds like it's going to turn into a pretty messy one, or there's a lot going on with it, and it's going to be a little bit hard to navigate. You sort of don't know where to start. It was just the senior member might go, "Hey mate, this will be a good one for you to cut your teeth on and work out." But yeah, you sort of. I'm trying to think if there's been any good ones. I don't think so. But sometimes you'll hear someone come up on the radio and they'll just completely fluff something up or lose their train of thought halfway and you go, oh yeah, and then you hear their number afterwards. So your number is like your seniority in the organisation. So my number starts with a 49 and you can sort of work out who everyone is. It's a 5-digit number and it means I'm the 49,000th and I don't know, I probably shouldn't. I don't know if I can say it, but I'm 49113 is my reg number. It's pretty. I suppose it's actually a.
You have to wear it or display it anyway, do you not?
Yeah. It's on the other side of my badge, and you do have to give it upon request anyway, so it's probably not that big of a deal. But
well, I've seen on TikTok, in America perhaps, what's your badge number? What's your badge number, officer? And oh goodness, it drives me crazy. But so there was nothing. Yeah. So as the apprentice, so to speak, there was nothing like sending the tradie apprentice down to Bunnings to get a left-handed screwdriver. Nothing like that.
And the double disc defibrillator.
Not anymore. I think that they probably would have copped it back in the day. There's some pretty funky stories from people before. There was probably quite so much looking after the little guy. But yeah, it's a little bit better now.
Before there was HR.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they would have sent you down for lunch or afternoon tea down to Macca's. So the burning question is, do the cops still get half price at Macca's or not?
During a shift, yep. Which is a good thing, I guess, at times. Usually it does help for a coffee run and things like that. Yeah.
So have you ever been sitting at home at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon looking maybe for a McDonald's feed and perhaps just throwing on the uniform and wandered down and to get the half-price Macca's? Or no, that's too far?
Nah, I can't say I have. You'd be in a little bit of strife if you got found out doing it, especially too. Generally, and it's an interesting thing. Like it's an interesting point because, like obviously all your equipment's at work. Sort of nowadays, I think especially in light of what's happened in Sydney, it's a pretty big deal that if you're going to walk out of the station in uniform, it's probably an expectation that you have your what we call OST equipment or operational safety and tactical training equipment. So your firearm, your baton, your spray. Your taser and things like that on you. So at a time, if you're at Macca's and something unfolds, you're equipped to deal with that, regardless of whether you are getting lunch or whether you're as a response unit. That's sort of an expectation. So usually nowadays, if you are out in uniform, it's an expectation that would be the case. So yeah, definitely wouldn't be putting on in my own time just to duck down and get Macca's.
So you finish a shift, and do you literally have to get changed at the station or whatever to get into your civvies to drive home, just so you're not put yourself in that position? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, largely. I'll always be wearing an overshirt over my gear. Anything that's got an emblem, you sort of take your ID off purely because, and this is something at uniform level that at usually times, and this is probably another thing that I sort of consider with policing is that you sort of you prepare for the biggest sort of, or the largest outcome, and then you sort of work backwards. So at uniform level, sometimes you're dealing with decent crooks, sometimes you're dealing with sort of petty offenders. But yeah, if someone sort of sees you walk out to your car and you're in full kit, and it doesn't take much, I guess, for them to sort of follow you to your car, and all of a sudden you may pull into your driveway 15 minutes later, and all of a sudden someone sort of knows where you are. So it is something you'd be mindful of. So yeah, definitely no uniform on the way to or from work.
So, Paddy, you said response team. I was going to ask about what's a normal shift look like. So you're in the cop shop and you're waiting for incoming, and you respond to that. Is that what that means, or are you out in the car just cruising and then calling in that you're close and you'll go there? Yeah. So, and this is sort of what I found a little bit interesting is that each police station will have one divvy van essentially. Sometimes if it's a big police station, they'll
use a couple of units out of there. The two sort of core shifts for a uniformed police officer, which is what I am now, is you either work in the watch house, which is the front counter, so the person that will come out to you when you walk into the police station, and they answer the phones when you call up. So there's usually two of them, and a section sergeant, so a sergeant that should be at the police station for the hours that it's open. So that's the core. So I'll spend my time 50% essentially in the watch house and 50% in the divvy van. And when you are in the divvy van, though, that's when you are responding to calls through to 000, but mainly in your patch. So policing sort of works in government areas mainly. So
in the divvy van, Patrick, have you ever heard, you're stuffing, with respect, of course, stuffing someone in the back of the divvy van, and in the background, everybody's singing, "He's going home in a divvy van," or something like that. How's it go, Ogre? You'd know better than me. But have you ever
Who's going home in the back of a divvy van?
Oh, well, have you ever heard those lines, Patrick, with the drunk mates cheering him on and stuffing him in the van?
I can't say I have. Usually there's not too much support from the person's friends who's going in the divvy van. Usually it's probably a little bit of encouragement for us, which is not quite of the variety that I could probably repeat on here. But yeah, not usually anyone singing or cheering. More so you might have brought down their day a little bit. So yeah.
Oh, the times have changed, Ogre. The times have changed. It was like a badge of honour, sending your mate going home in a divvy van. It was, taxis in those days, Ogre, were only $23, but hey, it's $23 you saved,
So you mentioned all the gear you've got, Paddy. So is it a bulletproof vest, or that's not part of? Don't need it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it is. That's part of. So you mentioned you got your cuffs, you got your gun, you got your taser, pepper spray. There's quite a bit of weight involved, isn't there?
Don't forget the baton.
And the baton.
Yeah, there is. There is a fair bit of weight. I'm trying to think. Yeah, a radio. A torch as well.
Yeah, you got your little camera on these days, haven't you?
Oh yeah, camera too. So yeah, it does add a little bit of weight. It's probably an extra 10 kilos, maybe up to 15, including the weight of the vest itself. Obviously, I'm pretty lucky. I'm a bit of a bigger guy, so 10 to 15 kilos on me on 90, 95 kilos isn't going to be too much of an issue. But you look at some of the you look at some of probably the smaller people, and it's probably maybe a quarter of their mass if they're 60 kilos. So it's a little bit of gear. And you sort of sometimes sit in the car, you feel like a bit of a spud because everything's sort of bunched up around you. But yeah, it is. I suppose everything's carried for a reason, so it is good to have it.
Now, we don't want to get into too much detail, but have you ever used any of them? Like, have you ever cuffed somebody?
Yeah, put the handcuffs. Pretty much everyone that gets arrested gets handcuffed, and if not, there's a pretty compelling reason. So yeah, cuffs go on. That's sort of your bread and butter.
And how easy, though? How easy, like the first time you get them out, you'd be like, okay, have I got this? Now, you may have trained for it, but you're doing it on a real person who's deserving it. How'd you go the first time?
The first time would have been all right. I sort of said before, I'm pretty lucky that I sort of wanted to get into foot chase. I reckon that'd be good fun. No one's really run for me. No one's really had a crack at me. I suppose maybe it might be a little bit because I'm probably a slightly bigger fella, but
because you're 6'4", right?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, the first time you sort of put the cuffs on in a high stress situation, like all of a sudden, like everything becomes a little bit more difficult because you're shaking a little bit, they're shaking, and sometimes you're throwing a few untoward substances, and they've got a bit of extra strength and things like that. So it's funny how quickly your skills and your bread and butter does go out the window under stress, but you sort of you just work out a way of getting it done. So yeah.
So would that explain perhaps when you got the culprit cuffed behind their back and you then start pushing them into the car, the back seat, not the divvy van, but the back seat, and they unfortunately hit their head on the top of the roof and the window as they're going in? That's perhaps what causes that? Nothing else, of course.
Oh, I can't say that'd be me, but
No, not suggesting it would be.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure. To be honest, not many offenders will get transported in sedans anymore. Generally, they'll probably go in the divvy van.
Yeah, you're probably right. I saw it on Cop Shop a few years back. So no, fair enough.
Yeah. But
so you've used the cuffs.
Yep.
What about the taser?
I've been fortunate enough, haven't had to. Yeah, fortunate enough not to.
No.
Yeah.
I'm smiling. I wanted to hear your experience about that.
Yeah.
The baton.
Again, no. It's been a no for everything for me. I've got no nothing interesting.
And no gun, obviously. Then
no, definitely
never
no.
had to pull the gun.
No, never had to. And God, that'd be a bad day.
You ever gonna go freeze?
Yeah.
Freeze, motherfucker! You know, I wanted to hear that. I wanted to hear that story.
Just keep in mind, he's only a young police officer, and he's only been in Preston for a few months. So I'll tell you what, Patrick, give it another 6 months. Give it another 6 months in Preston. You'll use every single one of them.
We'll see.
Right, now
we'll see. Hopefully not.
Of course not.
So no running chase, no high-speed chase in the car?
I've been in the car when we've sort of had a bit of a crack, and I was lucky enough just to get my driving, like my internal sort of license the other day. So yeah, we've tried a few times. Seen a lot of stop sticks deployed on cars, and I've seen a set of stop sticks deployed on the wrong car. So all those sort of fun things in the kind of the what's the word, preceding or proceed I don't know, the following little memo on the radio. I think I might have sticked the civilian car, and that's never a good thing. But I'm lucky enough that wasn't me. I just heard
49113.
I just heard that was from someone else. But yeah, it was. There are times when you do have to drive fast and you drive hard, and I've sort of been sitting in the passenger seat for the most part of it because I only sort of recently got my license. And you sit there and you go.
And how fast?
It sort of depends where you are. Especially in your driving training, we're probably really pushing it up to about, I don't know, maybe 140-ish. Okay. So it's not. There are people that are trained to a high level in their driving, so they can sort of go. Their license is to a higher threshold. But yeah, they do push you pretty hard, and you are sitting in the car sometimes going. You think about mum when I was a learner, she was hanging on for dear life, and I thought, God, you never survive doing this. You sort of get a bit motion sick the first few months, but you get the hang of it.
I mean, I'd reckon it. Those Hyundais you drive probably don't go faster than 140 anyway. So it's only the fancy cars that get the high speed. So you actually have to have a special license to drive the police car in training and stuff.
Yeah, so you do an internal driving course before you're allowed to urgent duty drive. So urgent duty driving is when you can sort of break the road rules and break the speed limits and push through red lights and things like that. So you do have to do a course, which is a practical one before you're allowed to do that.
And the sirens.
So would you travel?
I was going to ask about the sirens.
So would you travel or drive? No, the travel and driving I'm interested in, Oga. So would you drive with an experienced driver usually? So obviously if you get a call for whatever reason and you have to do that high-speed chase and that sort of stuff, there's somebody, in the car or you're working with to take care of that if you are not licensed? Yeah,
always. There always is. There's always. So essentially, and to sort of touch on the point of being an apprentice until I'm done in my time at Preston, that's essentially when I become first connie or first consul, which is when you sort of go from apprentice to confirmed, we call it in policing, but you finish your apprenticeship essentially, and then all of a sudden you're the senior member. So for me, until I become first connie, I'm always with someone that's confirmed already. So they've always got a license. They're the person that I say, hey, what do you think of this? To make sure that a young apprentice like me doesn't go astray and do something that they shouldn't, because they're paired with another apprentice and they've got no idea between them. But
so the siren, just put them on just to get through the set of lights because you're a bit hungry, you need to get the Maccas for the half price. Or have you never, or can you even share? Is that allowed?
You got to have a reason to be urgent duty driving. There does have to be a very good reason, and it's always constant risk assessment too. So that's something that I've picked up from a couple of people. And as sort of a job is changing, it may either escalate or de-escalate. You've got to sort of take that into the way you are getting towards it, because the big part sort of about our driving is that if you have a collision, you're no longer going to be the first unit to get there, and you may even delay the response by another 5-10 minutes. So sometimes waiting that extra however many seconds just to make sure you get there, you and your offsider get there, might in turn save 5 minutes. So there's a big emphasis on safety with it. Like everything in the police force, there's a very big emphasis on safety.
Can you be sweet talk?
Can I be?
On the job I'm talking about, on the job.
Oh, can I be sweet talked on the job? Into what?
Them getting out of something.
Well, I think generally people and this is my experience from policing, that people are pretty reasonable. As in, most cops are pretty reasonable if you treat them like they're a person, and you don't come out at 110% accusing him of this, that, and the other thing. Most people will be like, you know what, like, it's all good, it's pretty fair. Like, we're all human. Sometimes you'll get someone that you might just clash heads, and I guess that's just life. But usually I'm pretty reasonable. Most of the time, if people say, "Hey, look, like, this is a situation, I've done this," and if it's not a huge thing, people will be happy to say, "Hey, look, as long as you learn from it." It's sort of an MO. You don't give someone a lecture and a ticket, because otherwise you just give them one of the two, if that makes sense.
In my friend's experience, I've always found them to be reasonable, Ogre, and none more so on this particular day. My friend was driving my son to school, and it was only around the corner, and it was only a very short drive. And I went past, and I was probably at the school zone, so it must have been 50, and I may have just gone at 58, 60, like just nothing really, but I respect the law. So anyway, he pulled me over. I was literally he pulled my friend over, and he was only 200 metres from the school. And I said, "Oh, sorry, I just got to, in a bit of a hurry, get the young fella to school on time." Blah blah blah. Police officer, very respectful, said, "Thank you very much. Yep, no problem. That's fine." The only problem I had, Ogre and Patrick, was he was still there when I went back, and I was still doing 58 when I went past him. And he then followed me over and said, "I think when you're being reasonable," he pulled me over again. And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, gee, I think I'm in some strife here." He goes, "Mate, I gave you a chance first time. If you're that stupid to do it again, here you go. Here's your ticket." So I couldn't argue with that one. So to your point, Patrick, I think if you're doing the wrong thing and do it twice in 10 minutes, you deserve the wrath of the law, the full wrath of the law, I think.
Yeah.
Now, Paddy, you're out socially, and you introduce yourself, or you're meeting someone, or they're just telling someone for the first time you're a copper. What sort of reaction do you get as a 6'4" young strapping 22-year-old?
I wouldn't say strapping, and I'm probably not as young or youthful as I used to look, but I don't usually tell too many people, to be honest.
Okay.
Usually, yeah, just especially like if you know them, like I'll tell them. But most people who know me sort of know. But yeah, if I'm meeting people, unless they ask, and even if they do ask, sort of depends on how I feel about them. Sometimes I just tell them I'm studying teaching. Yeah. It's sort of something that you don't particularly advertise, especially on a night out, because depending.
Don't need it.
It's a bit like a real estate agent, Patrick. You don't offer up that information straight up. We're at the low on the pecking order. So I think I might use that.
You wait 2 minutes. Big Paul. And you go, "Oh, you're selling."
Yeah.
No, are you buying?
Yeah. I might use that when I'm studying teaching. I might use that one down the track. Thank you for that, Patrick.
Yeah, as long as it's sort of based in truth and you can back it up a little bit, you get your next line sort of going with your alibi or with your alter ego, you should be good.
Now, Paddy, you've touched on playing local football.
Yep.
Now, I've been doing some research down there, and outside of being a gun fullback, in what I've heard, and maybe I've said, the gun recruit of 2024, you've also got a bit of a magic man down there and have a bit of bag of tricks in your bag, your kit bag. And I've heard of sulfate powder, I've heard of soda crystals, magnesium tablets. These are normal everyday footy bag gear, but there's a bit of science about it. So can you share about how you found out about these things and how come they're in your bag on a regular basis? And I'm assuming they're all legal.
Yeah, they're definitely all legal. It's funny, I suppose that pretty much everything that I've sort of picked up along the way has just been from someone or a passing comment or something like that. To be honest, I've usually been a little bit of a bad cramper. And at the time, someone said that they were crunching a lot of magnesium tablets. I thought, oh, perfect, I'll give this a crack. It says you can take 3 to 9 on the bottle, so I took 9. Over the 24 hours sort of before the game, jumped up, wasn't cramping. I thought, oh, this is as good as gold. Supplement that with a few salts. I got that off another mate. That was one of the guys I went through the academy with. He said that helps him with the cramps. So yeah, those two from there. The soda crystals, we're trying to remember. I think that might have been for a physio. I had a knee that used to blow up, and somehow you sort of put that on there and it draws the fluid out overnight, which is another good one. And the last one is another cramper, the the powdered sulphur. I got that from actually playing Vic Pole footy. We were up in Brisbane. I forgot to take my magnesiums up. And he said, nah, just put a little bit of this in your shoes, which is a bit of a weird sensation because you sort of feel like you're playing with a bit of sand in your boots, and you sort of get to the end of the game, there's none left. It sort of all absorbs up into your leg through your foot, which is a little bit of a bit of an out there one. But it's a great find. And I actually drove down to this equestrian joint in Dandenong before the year because I couldn't find any powdered sulphur for love nor money. Managed to get some, and he said, "Oh, don't bother charging me. Charge it by the kilo." I probably had like one scoop of it. Just get a kick, which I've got a couple of, but not particularly many.
Bit like the McDonald's special.
But the only downside about that is it sticks out everything. Like powdered sulphur is like it's just disgusting. And like there was a period where our washing machine stank because I put a pair of socks in there. Some of our towels currently we've got to throw out because they're just, I don't know what it is, and something about like wet towels just like sort of reinvigorates the smell or reignites the smell, and it's like the most putrid sort of egg smell ever. It's absolutely awful, but it's been a bit of a learning lesson. Yeah, it is working. It might be a little bit of might be something to look at come final time for Blackburn when we're and the weather's a bit hotter. It's a little bit of a 1%er. I do swear by it. So, yeah.
And one more I heard was a new pair of boots. You put them on, and you get into a bucket of water, and it molds around your feet.
Yeah, that's another one I got from actually Phil Cracker. I don't know if you know him, but he always swore by that. I love a leather boot. Yeah, he said it's almost like when you mold your mouth guard. You put your boots on, you put your feet in your boots in hot water, tie them up, essentially soak them in there for 15 minutes, and then you go to training after that, and it sort of softens them all up and sort of avoids the blisters. So that's another one for anyone listening. If you're having blister issues and you got leather boots, try that one. Hopefully it might help.
Well, if it worked for Phil Cracker, that's worth having a go. He, as a North Melbourne fan many years ago, he could certainly play. The only thing I ever used to have in my kit bag for the footy was a potion for post-match, not pre-match, but post-match, because I used to suffer from leather poisoning when I played, and we used to just take this little thing just to calm me down and keep me out of hospital after a Saturday night when you've had 40 touches and kicked 6, which happened once, I think. But that is an interesting pre-game routine, that's for sure.
Now, Paddy, just to close out the footy questions, there was a lot of highlights a few months ago with a teammate taking what has been called Mark of the Century. Were you on or off the ground at that time?
I was lucky enough to be on the ground, right up the other end at fullback, and I remember I was playing on Sam Durden. I didn't really know him, but I think he plays with Woody at Box Hill. And he sort of turned around and he said, "Was that Woody?" I said, "Yeah." And I almost wasn't surprised. I was lucky enough to play with him at Whitefriars in the Ammos. And it's a pretty sort of regular occurrence, I think, for him. Like, he's a pretty freakish athlete. It's sort of just what he does. So I wasn't overly... Like, I know it was an incredible mark. It was absolutely bonkers, but it didn't really surprise me, if that makes any sort of sense. But, no, he's a great guy and good, even better footballer, I guess. Or maybe you say that the opposite way.
Well, they've had some serious media attention there. So we've had Mark of the Year from Woody there, and then again as a North Melbourne supporter as well, young, or not so young, I guess, Cooper Trembath made his debut for the Kangaroos, also a Blackburn footy club boy. Yeah, 100%. It's great to see. It's great to see young fellas doing really well, because he's a good couple of years younger than me. I think he's also a Whitefriars boy. Really good guy. Like, one of the most down to earth sort of people, and a really great footballer as well. So really pleased to see him get that opportunity, because he's worked extremely hard for it. It's probably not the most conventional way or the linear path to getting drafted, but yeah, hopefully he gets further opportunity and takes it and runs with it, because I know that he's definitely got all the attributes and all the skills and the mindset to do it. So yeah, really promising signs. If you're a North person, I'd be pretty keen to see how he goes. Is there any chance you might have shared some of your secret pre-game remedies with him that he might take into the big league? I'm not sure. I don't reckon. He
probably just doesn't cram because he's done all the fitness, he's done all the hard work and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure if he would be taking any of my advice. I know that Chucky takes my advice. He's probably cut from a slightly different cloth than we are, I reckon.
Well, you just let old Cooper know that if he needs any leather poisoning potion, I've still got some left from the good old days.
I'll send him in your direction, Big Paulie.
Paddy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on and giving us the insights of being a young policeman on the beat. Only 22, but again, it's what we're all about here is finding out the process and what it meant like from day to day, and even getting into it, how the family felt, the graduation, and the ins and outs of a day in the life of a young policeman. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing, Big Paulie.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. And we joke, and we often do, about the police force. But look, I don't think there's too many jobs in the world where you go to work and not sure what the day's going to hold, and certainly putting yourself on the line in real danger. So from all of us law-abiding citizens, we say thank you, Constable Patrick.
Good on you, Paddy.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, Big Paulie. It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure being here.
And it will be a pleasure to catch up with you another day, but perhaps not in uniform.
I'd hope so. Fingers crossed.
I'll just steer clear of Preston. I think.
Yeah. Stay out of Preston and we'll be all good.
Good on you, mate.
Good on you, Paddy.
All right, thank you.
Well, Big Paulie, the show is called Clueless. Do you feel like you know more about a young police officer now?
Well, absolutely, I do, Ogre, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to say that that's the least eventful interaction I've had with not me, of course, not me, but my friend. The least eventful interaction with a member of the police force. But look, full credit to them. It's what they do, and we joke a little bit, but what they do is they protect us, and they're never around when you call them or they need them, and they often are when you don't. But they do a great job, and I am still considering maybe, is it too late for me, Ogre? I actually thought about being a policeman when I was younger. My grandfather was a policeman, and I did toy with the idea, but I think I was too frightened, so I did something else. But gee,
I'd be scared shitless every day. I'd be scared shitless.
I'd probably get over the fears, but I'm not sure I could tolerate the lunatics that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and people questioning everything they do and thinking they know everything. So probably a little bit like some other professions. I'd last about 3 minutes, Ogre, I reckon. So full credit to our wonderful police officers.
And you went on a bit of a TV run, a TV movie run. I was waiting for more to be ticked off. Of course, you went on Mr. Cotter. Then you brought up Cop Shop. Then it was Police Academy. You got to count that eight times for the sequels.
And I, of course, missed Homicide. Oh, good. The list goes on. And a little earlier today, I started to go, and we missed, of course, was it Traffic Control or whatever that show is, where they pull over all those lunatics while they drive. What was that show called? Highway Patrol, I think it was. So, gee, they've made a lot of shows on police. Maybe. Our guest, he may very well be Patrick. He could be on one of those shows. We might be watching Highway Patrol one day, and there's young Patrick pulling over some joker who's who's got he's waiting for a mate. He's got a trailer full of timber that's only hanging on by a thread.
Just waiting for a mate. That's the best one. You would have seen that on TikTok, wouldn't you?
I've seen everything on TikTok, Ogre. I have seen everything just about on TikTok.
Well, there's another episode in They Can, Big Paulie. What a pleasure to have the young Paddy Cotter on there, the young policeman doing the best he can with what he's got out there on the police force. And really interesting about his magic bag of tricks and his footy bag.
Well, I will watch with interest again how he goes. But, gee, surely that stuff can't work for your footy, can it? But, hey, if he thinks it does, it does. And that's the main thing, eh?
He's still got to get a new washing machine. Absolute classy.
You'd need to take a trailer to the footy to get all his stuff in the bag, I reckon.
You'll be listening to another episode of Clueless with Ogre and Big Paulie. Thank you, Big Paulie.
Thank you, Ogre, and we will see you all next time.
You've been listening to another episode of Clueless with Ogre and Big Paulie. Follow, like, subscribe, even leave a review. Do it all. We'd love to hear from you.